Hi, everybody. So we're going to talk about religion today with Whit and Z, and we're going to talk about our perspectives on it and what does it mean to you. So I'm going to invite both Z and Whit to talk about their perspective first. So who wants to go first?
Uh, I guess I can jump right in.
Okay.
Um, I guess to give people a little bit of a background on kind of what my experiences with religion is, I was actually brought up in the Christian religion, specifically the Lutheran, and there's like a bunch of different sects. If as you go down Christianity, like it splits off into like a bunch of different things. If it means anything to anyone, ELCA is what I was brought up in. But I have experience with very how would I put it, enthusiastic Christian churches that were kind of more of the hell and fire and brimstone type stuff, and like the army for Christ and the so I've experienced in a lot of those spaces from when I was a little kid and then through probably early 20s as kind of the longevity of when I spent my time in that, and even minored in religion in college. So I really took the time to, at the time I thought I was going to be a therapist, so it was really important for me to learn about the very, very basics of a lot of different religions, because I saw that as a big motivating factor for a lot of folks. And I was like, oh, as a therapist, it'd be helpful for me to have that understanding. So that's kind of my background in religion. And I guess where I'm at now with what religion means to me, in a lot of ways, I see it as a business. Um, and I kind of was thinking that way as a kid, because I was just like, what happens if people don't tithe, or they don't give money, or they don't whatever? What happens to a church or a religion or whatever it happens to be? I just got very dark on the screen. um, and so from a young age, I was like, oh, this is kind of running like a business. This is kind of like what happens if people aren't buying into this or aren't believing it. And so I was connecting those dots there for myself. But also for me, especially in my early and mid 20s, to me, religion felt like a way that I was giving my power away to somebody else, and like allowing them to kind of tell me what to think, allowing them to kind of tell me what moves to make. Um, and um, and that's not the case necessarily for everybody's experience, but for me, that's what I felt like I was falling into, is I was giving my power away and allowing someone else to kind of tell me how to live my life. So it's been quite the journey to where I'm at now, and taking my power back, and finding those answers for myself, and not having someone else tell me what they think the answers are. So, yep.
Beautiful.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. It
Thanks.
dives in some of those deep spaces.
Yep.
Uh, for me, so I grew up in the LDS church, and I did that probably until I was about 12. My mom wasn't too intense about it, so that's nice.
Nice.
And then I also married into the born again Christian church to a pastor. That was hard for me to say. I was like, oh man.
Ooh.
I did. I married a pastor. So but in the LDS church when I was younger, honestly, like I didn't believe any of it. And I saw beings when I was little, and I saw energy when I was little. And so I preferred to talk to them versus whatever was being said. And I was a very loud and independent little girl. And so
Yes.
so they would ask me like, "Well, what is it that you believe?" And I'd be like, "None of this." So I think you guys are all crap. And they would like call me up to do a prayer. Like they'd be like, "Hey, would you like to do a prayer?" And I'd be like, "No," and I'd get up and I'd walk out. And I also remember channeling when I was little. So they'd have me like get up to sing a song and I would stop the piano. And this is like, I was probably like 4. And I started singing gospel music, like, and then stick my hand up and be like, I shall not be moved. And then I probably took my skirt off and I walked out because I didn't like to wear skirts when I was little. So it was a pretty big deal. Getting older in that, like, I still don't remember. I don't remember the things. That memory has been like completely shifted out of my existence. People ask me all the time because I still do work in and around LDS people, and some of them are my clients. And so, like, I don't have a recollection of it other than like I disliked it. I didn't believe in any of it, and there were some really naughty things that I did. According to them, that I had to go into the bishop for. So that really shifted me more into my own personal perspective. I really didn't hold on to it. I just kept myself pretty independent during that time. And then I married a pastor, which is a really intense story. And that took me into the control phase of things, where in that particular point in my existence, I needed to experience, and it was through my parallels too. I was all coming in. I had had lots of background in that, and I needed to work through some control pieces, and that is significantly controlling in there. So that is a lot of mind control and brainwashing from my perspective. And it's not that there wasn't good things about it, because I do remember coming into community. I remember, being sick, and they would come over and they would give you food, which is fantastic. So there's lots of good aspects that are running through it. But for me, it was a control piece, and it was a not allowing me to be entirely free in myself and speak how I wanted to speak and do what I needed to do. So that's where I come from in that aspect. It was really breaking the control and realizing that that there is something out there that is really, the universe is not controlling, and so why should we be controlled and be forced to be put into a box? So that's what I would leave that with, the question of what does that actually mean? What does religion mean to me? What does it mean to you? How does that manifest in your existence? How does it work in your family? And it's not to deem it wrong or right, because there are beautiful components of community and space sharing and coming into, even worshiping something that's a higher power can be really beautiful in the right spaces. So I've gone into worship sessions just to see like how the energy is flowing. And when everybody's in prayer, it can be absolutely amazing. So just a breakdown of what you feel like it is to you.
Mm.
Perspective.
Beautiful.
Wow. Thanks, Z.
Yeah. Thank you. So, and thank you for letting us know, the thing that you didn't want to say.
My body was like, yes, I did do that. Oh, dang.
Yeah, that's funny. So, for me, it was Taoism, really. So I grew up with hippie parents, and Taoism was not considered a religion. It was considered a philosophy. So I had a lot of influence from that, and a lot of discussion from my father about that. And my father was actually in seminary for a certain period of time and realized that he didn't want to do that. So when he left and didn't go into being a pastor, he was disowned by his family. And then he started to learn what was true for him. So I was always very outspoken in church if I went with a friend, which didn't always go well because I would be saying while someone was yelling up on the pulpit that that's not true. That's not how it actually works. And it got me into trouble when I would go into Sunday school with my little friends or, whatever, mainly with their parents. And the main one was my cousin. But I feel like it was really important for me to know those things, like to have a different perspective. It definitely made me like the black sheep if I was visiting someone. And my perspective was always like a lot of it came from my father, because he called religion religion. which to me is creating a division so you have a reason to go after another group or discount them. So to me, that's where my background came from. There wasn't a whole lot of religion actually practiced at all, except for with grandparents and cousins and stuff. And there were all different kinds of religions going on there. But mostly I would see it from the outside. So my perspective was pretty zoomed out, which I really appreciated, because I was in awe, honestly, of what was going on. Shock mostly. I remember being at my cousin's house and listening to, they weren't allowed to watch TV. They weren't, all their books were censored. And my aunt was listening to Billy Graham on the radio, and she had it turned up so loud that the whole house could hear it, and it was a big house. And I was just like, "Ugh, it feels so icky to me." And so my perspective was completely different. And I really feel like I was lucky, honestly, that I knew that I had a part in what was going on. And I didn't follow the philosophies of Taoism. Like, I didn't know what they all were, but I was listening and gleaning different information from my dad. So that was helpful. My mom was great too. Like, she would give me stuff like, oh, well, don't get mad at the person. Don't yell at the person, but it's their behavior that we're talking about here that isn't okay. And I think that's how I thought of religion too. It was like some of the behaviors were not okay, but the people were very loving with each other. But when it came to loving somebody outside of that religion, that's where it all stopped usually. And that bothered me because I was like, well, that person is a nice person and they don't like them because they're in a different religion. So I don't know. That was my introduction, I guess, to religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how with both of you, there was like this young child aspect of you that was like, nah, just absolutely not. I had a different experience, and I kind of maybe alluded to this, where I was like, I was so trying so hard to be in it because like my family and I don't know, I was like trying so hard to like grasp what the experience was. And and the ELCA Lutheran, if anyone's watching, like they're pretty quiet and chill. Not charismatic and any of that stuff. But the churches that I did go to that were more like that and more kind of whatever, I remember so badly wanting to feel the Holy Spirit. Like, I just was like, where is that? Like, what is that feeling? And like, I'd watch everyone around me be like having these experiences, and I'd be like, what? And so there was a big part of me that knew there was something out there, but what I was currently experiencing wasn't it. Like, that wasn't right and true for me, no matter how much I tried to make it happen. And tried to like kind of facilitate that experience for me that other people were having. And I think for me, I've noticed like I've tried along my like awakening journey, ascension journey, whatever you want to call it, as I've kind of fallen into similar patterns. Well, I've seen other people experience certain things, and I'll fall back into that like religion programming, whatever you want to call it, of like, oh, I should be experiencing that too, or why am I not feeling this thing, that comparison piece. And so I just wanted to put that out there of like that some of these things that can come from like a lifetime of religion experiences and all that stuff can flow into your awakening ascension stuff. And that's just, for me, it's a good indication of like, oh, I need to look at that more. Like, what is that? Where did that come from? Is that serving me anymore? But it's just interesting to reflect on kind of, I'm pinpointing like, oh, that kind of started there for me. So, but yeah, little Whit so badly wanted to believe and wanted to really be in it. And like, yeah, I question things a little bit, especially in the like Lutheran church and Catholic church. There's like certain colors you wear at certain times of year, like not the congregation, but the pastors, and like white robes, and you light candles a certain way, and anytime you cross the altar, it's like you have to do a certain thing, and it's like very regimented. And I remember as a kid being like, why? I would ask why a lot, and the answers never sufficed for me. They were like, well, this is tradition, or this is how things are. And I'm like, okay, well, if I go to my friend's church over here, they're doing it different. So why are you like so insistent that this is how it is? Because clearly we're all doing it differently. Like, so I was starting to piece things together as a little kid, but yeah, that why question was a big one for me to kind of really kind of come out of it, I guess, is a certain way. Like in college, when I was like, I started really, really asking why in bigger ways, that helped a ton. So anyways, I don't know why I went off on that tangent, but there you go.
No, it's good.
Mm.
Yeah. I took religion in college too. And we went to different religious practices. And it was a really interesting experience. And it just kind of cemented more of what I thought about it in the first place. Yeah. That it was division.
Yep.
Yeah. It's it's a very interesting perspective, and to go into some of the deep belief systems that I see coming up in the collective, and I can speak for myself, uh, that that God's going to hate you if you do da 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 da, right? Or there's a really big disbelief in God, and it really is how you discern for yourself and how you set that up for yourself and what you believe. But for me, it was big cutoff from source, from creator, and it was something that was perpetuating itself, and it had been doing it for a really 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 long time. And I see this still coming up where it's being afraid of like the word God. Source can be attached to that. The universe can be attached to that. So, I would just really dive into those belief systems and constructs that come up around religion. It could be just a hatred for self, for God, for other people. And I also was really deep into the satanic ritualistic stuff. And that came in through a church perspective. And so there is lots of good to it, and there's lots of not so great, depending on who you are and what your perspective is, how you want to view it. And also remembering that every single thing that you think, every tiny thought form, is how you see and view your reality. That's how your vessel views it. That's how you walk forward in this lovely little game that we have going on right now. So it's definitely to take a look at all of that and see what it means to you. Because if it does mean, hey, like, uh, that is a part of myself aspect, and I like it. I do have people who are still in themselves, who really have like a worship base. Like, hey, I'm gonna worship. It's not gonna be God, but it's gonna be Creator. Then that's fantastic. Going back into human consciousness in history, like it was really brought about to have some form of a construct moving through there. There are the good aspects of, hey, let's bring community together. Let's have something where we can all commune together. And then ego got involved, and other aspects got involved into that. Anunnaki got involved even further into that piece of it, where it just perpetuated itself further and further and further. And it caused a lot of division. So we're at the point where we are breaking that piece apart in humanity and needing to really surface what that energy is, so that it can get transmuted and worked into a higher frequency in the best way possible. And we're also not trying to push it away, just so that we're we don't want to be pushing the things away. It's a part of us. It's an aspect of us that needs to be looked at and loved.
Yeah.
Yes. That was actually, as you were speaking, a piece that I wanted to mention is when I'm feeling triggered or upset or something about hearing about someone else's religion or beliefs, it's not even about them. I'm like, what, like, it's a catalyst for me to look at something that I haven't loved on yet that's going on within me. So I think for me, and I don't know if anybody watching this, maybe that will be motivation to kind of look at maybe some of your own pieces that maybe need some love from you. But even listening to some of what y'all have said, I'm like, ooh, that brought up a little something spicy for me. And so for me, that gives me the opportunity to then sit with it and love that part of me. So so yeah, I appreciate you bringing up all those perspectives, Z, because that triggered some extra fun things for me to look at.
Yeah, me as well. So, but did you have something else you wanted to add, Z? Right.
I mean, collective message coming through is in reality, all of us in some point, space, and time have experienced intense religious constructs, whether that be the victim, whether that be us being a priest or a nun. I mean, it has flowed through all of us as a learning point. So, to really acknowledge that piece coming through and to see it for what it is and be able to write it for a period of time to find your empowerment piece in who you are is really important right now, especially before the end of the year. A lot of that is getting kicked up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, one of the things I want to just bring up with the ritual that goes on, when I was little, I think I was probably 7, and I went to a Catholic church, an old Catholic church in New Mexico. And I wasn't allowed to go up and do whatever they call that with the body of Christ and the blood and all that stuff. And now what I know, or I think I know, my perspective now is I'm glad I didn't get to do that. I'm glad I wasn't baptized into that, because it is a ritual that I view as a cannibalistic ritual.
Mhm.
So, when you brought up and I don't want to say that word too many times because I want to put this on YouTube, but when you brought up the Satan,
Mhm.
there's so many in there and
Mhm.
in the different religions. And if you're not zoomed out, you can't see them.
Mhm.
So I think it's really important that we zoom out, we detach our emotion and our need for something so badly, and know that we have God, source, universe, whatever it is within us,
Mhm.
so that we can look from the outside and see, like, oh, well, maybe this part of it's not so great, and maybe I don't want to do that part. Or maybe I do think that this part is absolutely beautiful. Like the community aspect is really beautiful. And we are going to be creating more and more community as society goes forward. But how we do it is really important. And I don't think we will do it with ritual.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That 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 aspect is, yeah, that's shifting out, and it's really for us to look at what were the good components out of it. The real ritualistic stuff is it very much so has been going in hand with the religious aspect, and
Mhm.
for just a very long time. And those parts are really shredding. There's a lot of humanity who are just not. It just is. It's out of the vibrational field. So
Yeah.
coming back into that space is what are the points of that really helped us, that really allowed us to be a community together, to harmonize with each other, to be able to talk to each other and work together in a co-creative way that really benefits us the most in our growth process and our expansion.
Mhm.
And so looking at both sides of the things, zooming out is massively important to see the bigger picture. There's a lot of it we haven't seen because it's been a disassociation, it's been a trauma point, and we've been too afraid to see it, which is also why some of our vision has been blocked because we've been afraid of that. And so I
Mhm.
really just encourage that whatever comes up, even through this end of this year and going into the next year, to really just embrace it. That doesn't mean that you have to be in it. It's just an observation. That's something that's happened. That's something that's happened in humanity. I'm looking at it now, and now how can we shift that into a love perspective or an authenticity perspective, even more so, so that I can use that in the best way possible to interact with others.
Yeah. Yeah. The love and the authenticity are massive right now.
Mhm.
And if you're not feeling it, if you're feeling divided or really cranky or whatever is going on, then there's things that are coming up to be worked on.
Mhm.
It's not about the other person, which I think we really, that's our biggest challenge right now, is to let go of blaming others for how we feel and actually just digging into how we feel and working on it, figuring out why.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
It's a good time, everybody.
Yes,
It
it's a
is.
good time. And I
It
think
is.
this subject needs to come up more right now because it's on the table as one of the last things that gets exposed really heavily. And it hasn't, it's just starting to get exposed, it feels
Yep.
like. So
Yeah.
it's important.
We've all, as a collective, decided to take a look at it really intensely. I mean, it's been probably the last month where it just keeps pulling up, and it's like, let's keep looking at it, let's keep looking at it. And really, it's just looking at it within itself. So if it does pop up for you, just question it. Why is it there? What does that mean to me? How does that feel to me? Like, what constructs are there that I can still take a look at? What belief systems can I shift so that I can make just a big leap into myself into this next year, because it's going to be such a beautiful year. I'm so excited for it.
Yes.
Me too. It's gonna be
Yes.
beautiful.
You're not alone looking through all this stuff right now. We're all doing it. So if
We
you
are.
feel like, God, this is a lot just for me, I'm like, we're all going through it right now. We got this.
We do.
Yes.
We totally have it. And just give yourself space to do things and don't expect to work through everything in a day. Just,
Yeah.
take your time.
That's a big
So
thing. Take your time, because there's all the time. It's infinite.
it is. It is. There's discussions about that too, and people seeing two different dates on one day, and different things are happening. So just realize that everything's changing and it's okay for it to change because it has to in order for us to create something new.
Mhm.
So anyway, um, I hope you guys have a beautiful day. And I hope this brought some clarity to how maybe you can look at things if it's, within you that you need to look at it.
Absolutely. And
Mm.
also too, like, reach out. You really don't have to do it alone right now. There are lots of people who are moving through it. So, if
Yeah.
you've got a good community base or someone to reach out to, if that's the case, I'm just hearing that really strongly. Like, just
Yeah.
just know, wait, this message, I'm just gonna amplify that a little bit, that
Yeah.
you're not alone.
Yes.
No, we're not alone and we're unity. I mean, we are a one being. So have love for that. You're not alone, even if you felt alone during this time.
Mhm.
Yeah. Beautiful. You guys have anything else you want to say?
Mm-mm.
Good.
Just
Okay.
that I love you all.
Okay. Love everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.